Greenland and Canada have just struck a new deal, one that might seem like a minor trade agreement at first glance. But when you look closely at what's involved, critical minerals, Arctic shipping lanes, and long-term strategic positioning, it becomes clear this is about much more than just trade. The Arctic is emerging as one of the most strategically important regions on the planet, and this agreement shifts the balance of who has influence there and who doesn't. Let's begin with some context. Greenland doesn't often come up in everyday conversation, but it should. Geographically, it's massive, the largest island in the world that isn't a continent, with nearly 80% of it covered in ice. Yet despite its size, its population is tiny, around 56,000 people, most of whom are Inuit. Politically, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but since 2009 it has had self-rule, giving it control over most domestic matters. Denmark still handles foreign policy and defense, but Greenland has steadily become more assertive in managing its own resources and forming international partnerships. Strategically, Greenland sits in one of the most important regions on Earth, the Arctic. As climate change causes sea ice to melt, previously inaccessible shipping lanes like the Northwest Passage are opening up. These new routes can dramatically reduce shipping times between Asia, Europe, and North America, creating significant commercial advantages. But the Arctic's value isn't limited to shipping. Greenland also holds vast deposits of rare earth elements, zinc, and even potential oil and gas reserves, resources vital for everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to advanced military technology. With most of the world's rare earths currently coming from China, finding alternative sources has become a top priority for the US, Canada, and the EU. At the heart of the new Canada-Greenland deal is access to these critical mineral resources. Canadian mining companies, supported by government incentives, have secured agreements to explore and begin development in Greenland's mineral-rich territory. This deal benefits both sides. Canada gets a more secure, non-Chinese supply of critical minerals, while Greenland receives foreign investment, job creation, and royalties. Importantly, Canada approached this agreement by working directly with Greenland's autonomous government, showing respect for its self-rule and building a cooperative relationship. What makes this development so notable is who isn't involved: the United States. Despite long-standing interest in Greenland, most famously marked by the Trump administration's suggestion to buy the island, the U.S. has been left out of this deal. Greenland's leadership has increasingly made efforts to avoid overdependence on any single country, especially one that treats the island more as a strategic asset than a sovereign partner. The American proposal to purchase Greenland was widely criticized as tone-deaf and dismissive, both in Greenland and Denmark. Canada's quieter, more respectful strategy has paid off. By offering partnership rather than control, it's become a preferred collaborator. While the U.S. still maintains a vital military presence at Thule Air Base in northern Greenland, a key installation for missile detection and space surveillance, its economic and diplomatic influence appears to be waning. In contrast, Canada's economic engagement with Greenland may give it a long-term strategic advantage in the region. So why does the Arctic matter so much right now? Quite simply, the region is transforming faster than almost any other part of the world due to climate change. Melting sea ice is exposing new shipping lanes and untapped reserves of energy and minerals. The Northwest Passage and other Arctic routes offer billions of dollars in potential shipping savings and could reshape global trade. Whoever holds sway over these routes gains massive economic and geopolitical leverage. This rising importance has drawn the attention of many global powers. Russia has expanded its military and commercial presence across the Arctic. China, despite not being an Arctic nation, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and invested heavily in Arctic infrastructure and research. The region is quickly turning into a high-stakes geopolitical chessboard. Against this backdrop, Canada and Greenland's partnership may look modest, but it quietly shifts a crucial piece on that board. What makes Greenland's moves so compelling is how deliberate they are. This isn't a country being pulled into international deals. It's one carefully deciding who to engage with and on what terms. By partnering with Canada, opening up to EU investment, and keeping China at a cautious distance, Greenland is diversifying its international relationships. This gives the island more flexibility, more influence, and more respect. For a country with only around 50,000 people, that's a smart way to maximize leverage. This deal is also a reflection of Greenland's growing independence. They are building economic ties with trusted partners and asserting more control over how their land and resources are used. At the same time, they're avoiding entanglements that might compromise their autonomy. It's a diplomatic balancing act, and so far, they're playing it well. From the U.S. perspective, this is a wake-up call. The assumption that Greenland's resources and loyalty are a given no longer holds. Other nations are moving faster and more tactfully to secure long-term cooperation. For Washington, this might mean rethinking its Arctic policy. Rather than seeing Greenland as a territory to secure, it may need to adopt a strategy of collaboration, one rooted in mutual respect, not dominance. The deal also raises some serious challenges. Environmentally, the Arctic is one of the most fragile ecosystems on Earth. Increased mining, oil exploration, and shipping can have devastating effects on wildlife, indigenous communities, and traditional ways of life. Greenland will have to carefully weigh the benefits of economic development against the risks of environmental harm, especially since much of the population depends on fishing and subsistence practices. There are also geopolitical risks. As Arctic resources become more contested, so do territorial claims and political tensions. Disputes between Canada and the U.S. over certain shipping lanes have already occurred. Russia's military buildup adds further strain. Even relatively quiet deals like this one between Canada and Greenland play into broader dynamics, where each new agreement can shift the balance of power, however subtly. Internally, Greenland faces its own debates. Many support greater independence, and deals like this one bring the island closer to economic self-reliance. But full independence from Denmark would also mean taking on responsibility for defense, international diplomacy, and macroeconomic stability, a huge step for such a small population. Ultimately, this Greenland-Canada agreement is more than just a trade deal. It's a sign of rapid change in the Arctic and of Greenland's emergence as a player that wants to choose its own future. By strengthening ties with Canada, Greenland is setting the terms for how its resources are used, who benefits, and how much outside influence is allowed. It's a smart, strategic approach, and one that other small nations might look to as a model. For the United States, the message is clear. Influence in the Arctic can no longer be assumed. Even close allies like Greenland are making independent choices that may not align with American plans. If the U.S. wants to maintain relevance in the far north, it will need to embrace a new approach, one based not on control but on partnership. This deal is one part of a much bigger puzzle. As the Arctic opens up, economically, strategically, and politically, the countries that move early and build strong, respectful relationships will be the ones with the most influence in the decades to come.